Hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ben Derry, along with meteorologist Jamie Cagle, and welcome to another exciting, thrilling edition of Weather Minds, Weather or Whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jamie.
It's good to be here. And again, selling it right out of the top. We're just going to come busting out of the gate right at you, folks.
This is a weather-related show where we talk about all things weather-related, especially when it pertains to weather in the upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin. We talk about weather that's happened this past week or so, the weather that we're experiencing now, depending on when you're watching us, and also what we expect to see happen in the future. And there's been a lot of stuff happening.
We like to take deeper dives into it. So rather than just give you just that cut and dry forecast, we can really dive into what happened or what's going to happen.
So during a typical weathercast, we have usually 3 minutes or less to explain the entire forecast for the entire viewing audience. So this is our way to kind of release a little bit and just be like,
spread our wings.
That's right, because we have a lot of pent-up energy and we have a lot of pent-up knowledge that we want to relay onto people, and we love to talk, as you'll probably notice over the next
we'll keep
20
it
minutes.
civil.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, and we'll try to keep things weather related, but sometimes we get a little bit off topic, which is why it's weather or whatever. And you can get in on the conversation as well. If you have a weather related question you would like to ask a meteorologist, a degreed meteorologist, you have the opportunity to do that. We actually have an email. You can send your weather questions to askweather@care11.com. You can say your name, maybe the city where you're from. And this is a fairly new development as well. It is live right now. So if you send those emails to that email address, your questions to that email address, we will answer those questions on the next thrilling edition of Weather Minds, Weather or Whatever.
It could even be a Weather Minds video that you see in our newscast. I mean, it just depends on just how intricate or how detailed of an answer we can give. And again, it might be one of those where we'll put it into a newscast as well.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
It's weather or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's talk about the first topic, I think, on a lot of folks' minds is the severe weather that happened last weekend. Depending on when you're watching us, we're taping this on Tuesday, the 1st of July. Happy July, by the way. But this past weekend, we had a round of severe weather. You were the meteorologist on staff covering the severe weather that produced a number of tornadoes. Tell us about the day.
Everything started out, I will say this, the forecast models we were using really handled it well.
Good.
Which is always the first thing you hope for.
Doesn't always happen.
Doesn't always happen, yeah. Sometimes you kind of fly by the seat of your pants, but again, with experience and whatnot, you start to pick up on some of those features that are going on the radar. Like, okay, this is what we expect next. But this one really handled it well. We saw a lot of thunderstorms, a lot of convection starting out close to Fargo, but then it started to build back towards Ortonville, kind of that notch in Minnesota, that direction there. And that's where everything really exploded.
Sure.
We saw a lot of that blossom. We were expecting it to fire up very quickly. You'd have rapid development and you'd have very strong cells. And things that we've seen this summer is when they're discrete cells, and I usually explain this that it doesn't mean that they're quiet and sneaking around. They're not that kind of discrete. They're individual storms themselves. They will fire up those tornadoes quickly. That's what we saw. Then it became a linear feature later on. But it was during that time where you had one cell firing up, the next one.
And they all had those potential signs of a tornado.
Yeah.
Even though as a meteorologist, you're looking at radar, you can't guarantee that there's a tornado, but you can see where there's rotation, where there's spinning in a storm, and you could say, I bet you there's a tornado right there.
And that was what was going on in far western Minnesota. In fact, eastern South Dakota, I think it's pronounced Duel County. It's Deuel. There they had some, you can see on the map right there, just kind of west-northwest of Marshall. There was one that right now says it was classified as EF3. And the path was nearly 7 miles. This thing was on the ground. And unbelievably enough, 2 non-life-threatening injuries. Now, granted, it's very rural, farm country. So again, it's not a heavily populated area, but still an EF3. And some of the pictures floating around, you can see just houses just gone and garages destroyed.
And the tornado scar on the fields, you can actually see the little vortices of the tornado, like
Yeah.
individual ones, as it works its
Yeah.
way across the field, which was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, when you see those soybean fields, corn fields, and again, when it doesn't have, even when it does have tall corn, this time of year, you can just make out that scar right in there. That was one we watched very closely, and we were on for a long time because, again, the rotation using the radar data, I always refer to as it was textbook. Bright red next to bright green, that inbound, outbound couplet right there indicating that rotation within the storm. And it was what you would expect to see in a textbook. Like, that is definitely rotation.
Yeah, sure.
The other ones, we had a couple of funnel clouds in Morrison County and then Carver County, right around Waconia. I believe that was about 12:15 in the morning.
Yes, you saw on the last graphic, there were 4 confirmed tornadoes at least that were in Carver County.
Yeah.
This is a close-up look at those Saturday tornadoes, the biggest ones in the state of Minnesota. 2 EF1 tornadoes, 2 separate tornadoes. One of them skirted the north end of Lake Waconia, wind speeds estimated up to 95 miles per hour, and then a second tornado, an EF1 that developed just east of St. Bonnie, right along Highway 7, that worked its way near the Victoria area. That had wind speeds up to 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, that was a cell that was basically just kind of sandwiched between Highway 7 and Highway 5 right there on the map. That one had strong rotational signature, not as strong as what we saw out towards Gary, South Dakota, Canby, Minnesota, but this one definitely exhibited that rotation. So we had a tornado warning on there.
And this was the middle of the night. This was like after midnight, and you're breaking into TV. You're on the streaming app as well. Tell us what was going through your mind when you were covering those tornadoes.
About 12:15 to 1 o'clock, I think was the time frame for that one. And again, it just seems there's something with Carver County, it seems like, where the winds out there can just, when we have wind damage, it tends to be Carver County, Wright County as well. But west of the metro, you really pick up the winds out there. This one, like I said, that storm was just running between Highway 5, Highway 7, due east. Then there was another 2 tornado warnings out ahead of it. And what happened there was an outflow boundary because we had this linear feature in western Minnesota. The Canby storm was dropping straight south. Then we had these another supercell kind of running along I-94 towards the Twin Cities. And right between the two, we got a good storm interaction. And it fired up a outflow boundary out ahead of that Waconia storm, and that's what initiated another tornado warning, like Shakopee, Jordan, Eden Prairie direction there.
There was a little bit of wind damage, but they confirmed that those were not tornadoes. Is that right?
Yes, they were confirmed as not tornadoes. And when we were looking at the velocities within the storm, it was very difficult to see if there was even any rotation there whatsoever. But certainly, what I was telling folks at home is, even if it's not rotational wind damage, it's straight line wind damage you're going to have.
That still can cause significant damage, for sure.
Absolutely.
And when you are a meteorologist on staff and you're on air, you're covering a tornado warning middle of the night, you don't always have confirmation that there's one on the ground. People are sleeping, some of them might even be woken up by either the sirens going off or their weather radio is telling them to get in the basement.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do in those situations where you don't know for sure there's a tornado on the ground, but all you can see is the radar signature and the fact that this could end up being pretty significant?
Yeah. Basically, you're gonna treat that tornado warning as if you have a tornado on the ground, especially that time of day when you're talking about you can't see anything outside. It's pitch black. Now, granted, you might get a lot of lightning. Some of them actually say, "Hey, I can see the funnel right there."
The backdrop.
You might get lucky. When you're in an urban situation, you don't always have that. There's a lot of trees, the canopy, the building, so it's harder to see around the Twin Cities and urban areas. Sometimes law enforcement will call it in. There was a few that were observed, and many were radar.
Earlier in the day, right?
Yeah. So as you get later into the night, again, you really are just going to have to rely on that data, and again, treat it as if it's a tornado warning, regardless if it's straight line winds or rotational winds, tornadoes. You're telling people, head to the basement, stay away from the windows.
It's a good idea to
just
do that.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
And again, that's how you treat it, and you hope folks at home are treating it the same way.
And you are the meteorologist on staff, and we appreciate you and Ren helping us out during the...
you never know whose name's going to get pulled for that next round of severe weather.
Yeah. I remember with 2020, it seemed every weekend every weekend, it was like a 7-day break, there was another tornado that we had to break in on. So, it's apparently your time. And this June has been fairly significant as far as tornadoes go.
Yeah.
It has been a busy severe weather month. In fact, 39 tornadoes were reported in June alone in the state of Minnesota. This is the most tornadoes reported in the month of June since 2010. And if you recall 2010, that was a record number of tornadoes. We saw 72 tornadoes in June alone, and over half of those happened in one day. I believe that was June 17th of 2010. That was a wild day. So we haven't had those completely wild days, but I mean, the average for the entire year in the state of Minnesota for reported tornadoes is 46.
Yeah.
And just in 1 month, we are approaching that. And so far this year, we have 48 tornadoes reported. They're not confirmed. These are preliminary reports. But when you already have the number of average tornadoes, like you're exceeding the yearly average, and tornado season has really only begun.
Yeah. June has just been extremely active, to say the least. Even heavy rain, which I know we're going to talk about.
Yep.
Crazy temperatures. But yeah, it's been a bumpy ride this month.
It has been. And for what it's worth, 39 tornadoes in Minnesota that reported. That tops any state in the country for the month of June.
And what about our neighbors next door?
I'm glad you asked, Jamie, because I have that answer too. During the month of June, Wisconsin saw two.
Yeah.
2 tornadoes. How does that work?
So my question
39.
last night on air was, because I used your graphic, the 39, and then I said, in Wisconsin, 2. And I'm like, what's your secret? Like, what are you not telling us?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things we can say.
You know, like they say in real estate, it's location.
I guess so.
And right now,
yeah. But there's no signs that things are going to wind down for us. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick short break. We're going to collect ourselves. We'll have a closer look at what happened during the month of June, temperature-wise, precip-wise, and we'll have a look at what we expect to see happen over the next week or months. It's Weather Minds, Weather or Whatever. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We just finished up a discussion about how severe our June has been with the most tornadoes seen, or at least reported in the month of June in about 15 years or so. We don't see any signs that things are going to be changing anytime soon. We do expect the weather pattern to at least remain active over the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, we have a few rounds of storms already showing up in our 7-day forecasts. And again, this time of year, our warm season, people really cherish those holidays and the weekends. So again, this is that time of year where there's a little more value to a good forecast. You kind of feel that pressure sometimes. 5-6 days out, people are, so what's the 4th? Is there going to be rain on the 4th? Or Memorial Day, Labor Day, they're asking about stuff like that. And you're like, it's just like any other week. As we get closer, yes, that resolution, as you walk closer to a picture, it becomes more clearer and clearer and clearer.
Yeah.
And the forecast is the same way. You're 7 days out, and again, you're kind of painting with a broad brush, and you wish you could give someone that detail. Trust me, I wish I could tell you if it's going to rain in your backyard on any given day. I wish I had that ability.
So many analogies that we like to use, right? So what's funny too is you talk about, everyone's got plans on the weekends. I mean, of course, it's wedding season, right? Everybody's got outdoor weddings now, and every time we see rain showing up on a weekend, we're just like, you feel bad saying that, especially when you see it so far out, and you're like, yeah, it could be a really wet weekend. And I'm a big fan of statistics. The wettest days of the year, we're talking the days of the year where it rains the most often, is 2 days, June 11th and June 14th.
Oh.
For whatever reason, it's not by much, but those 2 days are statistically the wettest time of the year. And of course, that's when most people want to have their outdoor events, right?
That's
June. Yeah, June is a very wet month. If you're planning a wedding, take this note. The driest day of the year statistically is February, I think it's 11th.
Is it 11th?
I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
It's sometime in February.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
You can probably
Outdoor
get a
February
good
wedding.
You can get a good discount on an outdoor venue too. Think of that.
We are solving everyone's problems right here, right now. So February outdoor weddings. There you go, folks.
Do it. Enjoy yourself. Speaking of June, we'll go back and let's talk about the precip in the month of June, because we did see a lot of severe weather and it rained quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
Some areas more than others. This is a June review. This is showing each day of the month where it rained, measurable precipitation. And you can see some of those numbers. When it rains, it pours. You can see, especially this last week, where we saw several rounds of just torrential rain out there.
And that's MSP.
Yeah.
So that's one little spot on the map. When I was digging up some rainfall totals from this last weekend, parts of Wright County, Yellow Medicine County.
Especially Buffalo, right?
Buffalo, Rockford, out towards Delano, Canby had several inches. Royalton, that was in Benton County. Again, sometimes you find these little towns, you're like, I didn't know that was there. But
we always knew Royalton was there.
yeah, we always do that one. Yeah. But 2.5 to 3.5 inches easy in those areas.
And Wilmer earlier this month got inundated with several rounds of rainfall
Yeah.
as well, some flooding rains as well. So it's a bit too much of a good thing. We do see years where the opposite is true, especially in the recent past, where we've had Junes with very little precip and everybody's watering their lawn, everybody's worried about fire danger and just praying for some kind of rain. This was the opposite.
Yeah.
We're kind of like hoping for a bit of a break, right?
Now we're thinking, can we get a stretch of dry weather around here soon?
That would be nice.
Yeah, we average 4 inches of rain June, 4 inches rain July, and some folks are getting that in an evening.
Yeah, pretty wild.
And it'll be interesting to see Thursday when the drought monitor comes out and just see where it's been completely eliminated. Because right now it's pretty much, you're either no drought, you're abnormally dry, and there's just a little bit of moderate drought.
Yeah, it's a non-story this year.
Yeah,
which
it
has
really
been
is.
Pretty
It really
refreshing.
is.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we should average an inch of rainfall a week.
Yep.
Doesn't always happen that way. But, like you said, sometimes you get an inch of rain in about 20 minutes or so. So this is the time of year for that. That's totally normal for things to be this way.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get 1 week where you don't get any rain, and then the next week you get 2 inches of rain. Well, then the average is an inch,
Yeah.
so it works like that. Let's go back to temperature-wise. We saw some wild swings so far this June. And
pretty bonkers.
This is something that doesn't happen very often, is seeing the wide range in temperatures. Jamie, what sticks out to you?
Well, I think everyone remembers that hot weekend we just went through. I think that would
21st,
technically be not last weekend, but 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
Mid-90s there. Saturday and Sunday was at 21st and 22nd. And then a matter of a couple days later, 66 for a high there on Thursday. Absolutely, that's absolutely crazy.
And then and a week prior to that,
separation there.
Look at the day on June 13th. Doesn't that look like a lovely June day? The high was 57 degrees.
Yeah.
That is chilly by May standards. Even April, I'd say, is kind of a cool day. And that 57 degrees, I think, is the coolest day in June in 16 years.
Yeah. Yep. In fact, I think you and I spoke earlier this month and we said typically we had that 68 early on. It was like, hey, we get 1 day below 70 during the month. And there it is. We're done. And then a few days later, a high of 57. We're like, all right, this is just not going to be a normal June, is it?
So if you have any kids that are not old enough to drive a car yet, this is the coldest June. That was the coldest June day they've ever experienced. How about that? But as a whole, I think we ended up being average, like for the month. If you looked at the stat for the month of June, I think we were like a half a degree warmer than average.
Is that all it was?
Yeah.
Because you have a 95, 96, you have a 57. Yeah, it just kind of balances out.
It averages out. Yeah. Now, sad news to report, the longest days of the year are now behind us.
Yes.
They are in our rearview mirror. The summer solstice was earlier in June. I think it was June 20th this year, was it? Yeah, June 20th. That means ever since then, we have been ever so slowly losing daylight.
A few seconds here, a few seconds there.
And it adds up, right? After a month
Eventually.
of that. Eventually. So we are losing daylight right now. In fact, I think we lose like 50 minutes of daylight during the month of July. Sorry to be a downer. However, that being said, statistically, the warmest days of the year are in our future. Let's talk about seasonal lag.
Yeah, I mean, right there you can see it. So June 1st, we have our typical highs, 74, and you can see it keeps climbing into July, even though, as you just said, the days are getting shorter. So it's not like you're just turning the heat off and letting things cool down. You're losing a few seconds or a minute of daylight. So that's not a dramatic drop in the overall sunlight you're getting that day. You're also going to see, as you get into July, you'll see less frequent thunderstorms. So you still have more sunshine coming your way. So fewer days of rain, fewer days of cloud cover. So again, this isn't like you're just instantly, you're not turning the heat off like a light switch here. You've heated up the oven. It is still piping hot.
That's it.
And you're
still throwing heat in there.
Yeah, you're still throwing some heat in there again, because again, you have more days with sunshine. So you have less cloud cover. You're still, as you have more sunny days in July and August, you really are adding more sunshine to your month there, because June, typically we have, was it like 40% of the time we're getting rain. So that's a lot of cloud cover to block out that sunshine too.
And also, like, the sun continues to heat the ground, heats buildings, concrete, things like that, and those things retain heat, right? So even though the days are getting ever so slightly shorter, we're still adding heat to those buildings, the ground and stuff, and that continues to allow our high temperatures to rise. So statistically, the warmest time of the year is July. I think it's the 8th through the 15th or something like that. Yeah. But once we get to that point, I think 9 p.m. sunsets are over as well. So that's what a lot of people like, right? Is the late evening sunsets.
Yeah, I think that's what people think. Okay, this is summer. The sun's out. I can still kind of see things 9:30 going on 10 o'clock. Oh, it's dark. Because then you think about 6 months later and the sun's down and it's like 5 o'clock and it's pitch black outside, and you're like, okay,
you really start to notice the daylight change. You really don't notice it until you get deeper into August. So I mean, even though we are losing daylight, it's kind of in the back of your mind until we get into the latter month of summer. So there's still lots of summer left. We still got lots of 90-degree days in the forecast and plenty of days to go out and enjoy the lake. So here. Now, the forecast will remain active as we head into the second half of the week. Depending on when you're watching us, let's talk about the chance for precipitation. This graphic right here, it highlights what days of the next 7 days have the best chance, both day and night, for precipitation. The higher you see there, the bar there, the greater the chance of more widely scattered, widely spread showers. What do you see?
Well, for Wednesday and Thursday, what we've been watching is we'll have this little kind of cold front swing in from the northeast Wednesday, and it has a chance of trying to set something off for the Twin Cities.
Pretty isolated, right?
Yeah, it's not you can see again, when you're in that 20 to, it's probably about 20% chance, maybe a 25% if you just take it for what it's worth. And then Thursday it lifts north, so it's a kind of this temperature boundary. It drops south and then moves north, and as it does, it tries to set something off. Really what's going to happen is we're going to find ourselves with a lot of heat, a lot of humidity as we get into the weekend, and then eventually this whole system kind of swings through as a cold front, and we know what happens with cold fronts this time of year is it sets off showers and thunderstorms for us. So it'll be the timing matter Friday, and then it looks like this front's going to try to just hang out in the neighborhood.
It really
right
is slow
through
moving,
Saturday.
right?
It's a slow mover.
Yeah.
So it was, as I was even saying last night on air, is for Friday, yes, people are like, okay, is my barbecue going to get rained out? Are my fireworks going to get rained out? It'll be a timing factor, and we've been looking at the forecast, and as of lately, it looks like for the Twin Cities, it's getting later and later and later.
Yeah, it's trending a little bit later. So a lot of times when we're forecasting these events, which are, more than just a couple of days out, we don't forecast exactly what models are showing. We forecast the trend, right? So if it's trending a little bit later, we'll try to get out ahead of that so we can forecast that, and hopefully the forecast models line up with what our prediction is. That's being a meteorologist, right? So with this Friday system, because it's such a slow mover, these types of forecasts, they tend to slow down even more than what they are saying in the forecast models. So if you do have plans on Friday, who doesn't, being outside, just keep in mind rain is in the forecast, and because of the amount of moisture that's in the air, some of these showers could be very efficient rain producers. However, it's a slow front. That means the chance for severe weather is a little lower. It doesn't have as much wind shear to deal with. And also the trend has been to kick the rain a little bit later in the day. So fingers crossed, maybe the rain holds off until after the fireworks Friday night for here. But the further west you go, the better your chance of seeing rain a little earlier.
Yeah. Just, you always look at that like 9, 10, 10:30 time frame right around there. It's usually during our newscasts. that 10 to 10:30 is when all the fireworks are going
They
off.
lock you guys inside.
Yeah.
Like, no, you have to work.
Yeah.
People need their news.
I'll step out in the backyard and I'll hear it. Maybe see some of the distance, but it's a timing thing. And again, we could come out and do a forecast Thursday, and it could look even better. Like this thing could be really late.
Yeah.
Things could move up.
Saturday does look pretty wet. On the topic of fireworks, though, do you like fireworks?
Oh, who doesn't?
I love
maybe
fireworks.
dogs don't. That's about it.
We'll end on this science note right here, the science of fireworks. If you're ever wondering what is in the sky, well, a lot of chemicals.
Yeah.
As funny as we see the air quality dip significantly after the night of fireworks. But if you see the bright blue, that's copper that's being ignited. If you see green, that's barium. So you can see the colors right here, and it's kind of cool to see. It's basically a chemistry class that you're watching.
Do you remember putting, like, you had your Bunsen burner and you drop a little of the chemical in there and the flame would change color?
Yeah.
I mean, this is on a much grander scale. It's much prettier to watch,
I
too.
think it's somebody's job to come up with the oohs and the ahs. And that one kid that was probably the one class that they really loved.
Probably. But yeah, very cool.
So we hope that everybody has a wonderful 4th of July celebration and, of course, that they are safe. I want to bring this graphic up one last time. If you have a weather-related question that you're just dying to ask Jamie and I, you can now ask us with this new email address, askweather@care11.com. We'd love to hear from you. And then on the next Weather Minds, Weather or whatever, we will be answering your questions, and you'll be able to check them out there.
Yeah, make it much more interactive.
Yeah. Jamie, it's been fun.
It has been fun.
It's been real.
It has been real.
And it's been real fun. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time.